So they are very worried and they live very quiet and they always maintain the low-key attitude. So Henry hopes that his son would grow with a mono-ethnicity and live with one language that will offer him authority and confidence that his broad half-yellow face could not. So these are the phrases he used to describe his stage. So he said, I had always thought that I could be anyone, perhaps several anyones at once, because he doesn't know who he is. And people like me are always thinking about still having an accent. So even though he is educated in the States, he has no confidence in his English. So he's always worried, and that's his trauma. The English is his trauma. And about the Korean language, he thinks that language is useless, and he has never uttered that language, and he never used. So for him, Korean language is a useless language. It's a hindrance for him to enter the mainstream society. And there are two people who gave Henry an opportunity to step out of this ambivalent stage. One is Dr. Lusan, psychoanalyst, and the other is his wife. Dr. Lusan is a psychoanalyst, and during the consultation, he noticed that Henry is living a fake life. So he gives Henry a decisive question. Who have you been all your life? Meaning, who are you? So later, Henry confessed that he had saved my life in ways he never imagined. So if it was not for meeting with Dr. Lusan, Henry may have stayed in this ambivalent stage longer, or maybe he didn't have the chance to come out of, to get over this ambivalent stage. And his wife, Lelia, is a language therapist for immigrant children. So automatically, she demonstrates the value of the language. And actually, she's the one who insists on sending his son to a language school. But Henry disagreed with her opinion. So this is the final step of the recovery. Henry expressed his appreciation to his father's language, the HL. So he says that I think I would give most anything to hear my father's talking again. I will listen for him forever in the streets of this city. So this city is New York, because New York, you can hear a lot of languages from the immigrant people. Okay. So he finally reconciles with his HL, and also he reconciles with his father. Actually, his father died a while ago. Okay. So he, at the end, actually this passage is the real end of the book, and he quits his spy job and he goes to his wife's class to assist her. And then this is the last part, the phrase. Okay, so let me read this one. I hear her speaking a dozen lovely native languages, calling all the difficult names of who we are. So here, I think we can focus on two very important words or important phrases. One is native languages, and one is who we are. Okay, so here we can see the connection between the language and the identity. So the Layla, by calling them with their unique native name, the teacher helps them to know who they are. Okay, so the children are encouraged to maintain their native languages, maintain their accent, or maintain their lovely names. So these children will be very happy and will be a very healthy citizen in the American society. And as mentioned earlier in the previous slide, the society plays an important role. And I think Lelia is the one who has a very clear idea of how to help those immigrant children to so that they can maintain their HL, and also they can live as a good citizen or ideal citizen with a solid identity. Okay, so far we have gone through how the heritage language works, and also what is the ethnic identities and how does it work, and how is it interrelated through the previous literature or the surveys, and also through the novel. And we can conclude that heritage language plays an important role in establishing identity of ethnic minorities and helping them strengthen their sense of belonging to the mainstream society. And I think it's a very important issue these days because we live in a global society and everybody can move to another place and they always have an issue of assimilation and also the maintaining their own culture. And this is the end of my slide presentation, and these are my references. Okay, thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you very much, Yoanna, for the very great presentation. Yeah, I do realize that today's many journalists also talk about identity, and it come across that today you're talking about this, about how to create identity itself, from someone who learned a new language in the target language today. And to show that this is kind of interesting, actually there is a question earlier, posted by two people. The first one from Tatu Zakia Tonofus. Okay, I directly to go to the question answer. Yoanna. Okay, the first question to you is how to maintain heritage language in globalized environment where many foreign language used, such as English and Mandarin.
So I don't know about the Mandarin because it's Mandarin is usually used spoken in also in Asia or Singapore or Malaysia, right? Okay, so firstly, I think we need kind of attention to the need of this HL. Why do we have to maintain this HL? So if we realize the importance of this HL, then later on we can program or we can set up a plan to have a formal education to teach this HL. Okay, so first, I think the parents must put an extra effort in teaching HL to their children. It is very time consuming. So from my experience, some families, they always speak two languages for one issue. For example, they speak in their home language first, and then they speak in English. So the children can listen to the two languages at the same time, but the contents is the same one. So if you continue doing this practice at one point, and they will have the very balanced exposure to both languages. So somehow they can maintain their HL, and they will not lose the HL. But another problem is speaking is no problem sometimes because they can speak with their parents if the parents really spare time to teach them to speak them in the heritage language. But the literacy, the skill of literacy is a problem because even though they are bilinguals, so their literacy level is very basic or very at the beginning level. So I think if we want to maintain the HL, not only the speaking, but also we have to have the literacy education for them. So it needs a lot of resources and energy from the society as well as from the individuals. So we can set up a program or a system so that they can have a regular education, the immigrant children. And for example, in Korea, we have in each district or each province, at least we have one cultural center where they can learn the Korean language as well as their own language. So usually the mothers from that country will become an instructor, and then they can teach the youngsters from her countries country so they can teach their language to them. So it's a very good way of maintaining the HL. Okay, so you can utilize the human resources who have already settled in that country, but who can speak the indigenous language or who can speak the HL, then you can utilize them as human resources, as an instructor, so that this education can continue for the immigrant children. So, and also in Korea, we have some libraries that holds tons of books from each countries. So children can always borrow the books written in their HL. So one of the parents can teach them their language. And so in this way, the HL can be carried on generation by generation, even though they live in a foreign country. So books and literature or the programs, education programs are very important to maintain the HL, to maintain HL.
Well, very good answers, I think, Yoanna, because
Yeah.
you say that it is kind of the involvement of society. I mean, comprehensive involvement from them, maybe coming from the government, and then pass into the parents, so the parents can, teach them anytime.
Yeah, so it's a comprehensive approach